Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Tonight, I think we have something kind of different. We have Jason on, and if he wants to share his last name, then he can. And basically, we have kind of a few things that we're going to go through, some sleep issues that he had early on. And then we're going to go to a few stories about some dragon encounters, and then we'll wrap it up with another topic. So I don't want to give it all away, but I'm telling you, just hang in there and listen to the whole testimony here because it's very, very interesting, and I just knew that we had to have him come tell his story. If anyone out there has a story they'd like to share, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. And it can be Bigfoot, dog, man, anything supernatural, any kind of story that's interesting. Just email me and give me a phone number, and I'll call you. And from there, if you want to contribute to help with this channel, and it's needed sometimes here lately for this past year anyway, you can go to a link in the description, PayPal me. It's super easy to use. It only takes like one step to do the whole process, and so you don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. And I thank everyone who has contributed to helping me keep this channel going. And anyway, let's go right to our guest. And Jason, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great, man, and I appreciate you taking the time this evening, even though you had your birthday party going on for the kids, and I was really excited about talking to you because I like these strange, weird kind of dragon kind of stuff. It's like, man, I got to hear that story. So anyway, man, if you would, let's start with your kind of the progression like you gave me in your email with the sleep paralysis kind of stuff, and then we'll go to the dragon stuff, and then and the other topic that we were talking about, because I think it kind of all in a way may link together. Is that cool?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. I guess. I guess as far back as I remember, some earliest memories. At our first house we lived in when I was young. I would always remember, like, going to, when I get ready for bed and the lights go out and the door shuts. It was usually start. I wouldn't even have enough time to fall asleep. So I know it wasn't nothing I was dreaming or anything, but I would. It happened all the time. Usually when I'd go to bed, I would just immediately pull the covers up over my head because I knew something was going to happen. But I would feel, like I said, I don't know what it was 'cause I didn't see nothing at that time, but I would actually feel something like come up on my bed, and I could feel it, walking on the bed. I could feel it, walking on my legs, and I feel the pressure of it. And I don't know if it just scared me so bad I'd go out, but usually the next thing I remember, would be waking up the next morning. And that I guess that was almost a every night thing. I told my parents about it, but of course, when they were in there with me or whatever, nothing would happen. It would always happen once I was in there by myself. And it wasn't just that house, because we moved out of that house and moved into where I grew up, and it was the same thing. But I guess it started progressing as I got older to where I would actually start. I guess I got to where I could sense it when it would come in the room. I don't know how to explain it. I just sensed something bad or something not right. The atmosphere, I guess, would change in the room, and like I said, the same thing. I could feel stuff, come on the bed crawling. As I got older, also, I started where I would see shadows around the room and on the walls, and sometimes more than just one. It did that for for a while, and then as I got older, that it turned in from just seeing stuff to actually I would actually get attacked. To like I'd be held down in the bed and feel like something was on my chest, preventing me from being able to take a breath, like something heavy sitting on my chest. Completely paralyzed. It wasn't this sleep paralysis that people talk about, because it would happen when I'd be laying in bed staring at the clock, and all of a sudden it would start happening. It scared me. It scared me to death. I didn't know what to do. And usually it would. I guess I don't know, I'd pass out or what, but I would always wake up the next day just drained and just out of it, almost like you have the flu. And I guess as I got older, it didn't do it every night like it did when I was a kid, but it when it happened several times a week. But when it did happen, it'd be a lot worse, a lot more intense. And like I said, you wake up the next morning and just be completely drained, zapped of energy. And I guess as I got older and started, I guess, getting more into my relationship with the Lord, learning, there's power in the name of Jesus. And when this stuff would happen and be holding me down, I would call him in the name of Jesus, and it would immediately like stop. I mean, it was like whenever I said, in the name of Jesus, leave or get out of here. I was immediately able to move. I was able to breathe. It would still continue to happen, but whenever I said that, it would stop. But I guess whatever this was, it had to be intelligent, because the attacks, when it happened, it was starting to where I couldn't speak anymore when it would happen. I'd never done that before. So even just me thinking in my mind, name of Jesus, get out of here, that would also make the attack stop. But it was real weird, real strange. It was definitely scary, and that's happened all the way up until now. I went for about maybe a 2-year period when it didn't happen, but it continues to happen to this day.
Yeah, no, I want people to also know that what you said there, that you would call on Jesus out loud when you could, but then it started adjusting its attack to where it was trying to get you, so when it was getting you, you couldn't speak. But you could also pray in your mind. You can call on the Lord without speaking verbal words, and it would still stop. After you would pray, you would just think, Lord help me, or because I've had those kind of problems too, and eventually, the stuff stops, and then maybe once in a long while you'll have something like that happen. Because I've been through it, dude. I went through it myself, and it's not sleep paralysis like some people try to explain it, like where you're caught between this dream state and your body's paralyzed, and and you're imagining this kind of stuff, because it's the entity that wakes you up. If you fall asleep and you wake up and you're paralyzed, it's the entity that woke you up, because you instantly know, there's something in the room. And it's really kind of hard to explain to people, but that I think the whole explanation of sleep paralysis is it does a disservice to people who are suffering with this problem, because they think that it's all intrinsic instead of extrinsic, because it's happening outside you, it's not happening in you, So
yeah, exactly.
That's a really important message, man. So I appreciate you sharing that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And my advice to you would be to get some olive oil, go around every window, every door, and just pray over your home and ask the Lord to protect your home. Ask the Lord to protect your yard. I mean, that's what I do. I was like, not just my house, but protect my property. the place I live here. Don't let anything come onto this property. And I ask him to set up angels around my home even, and make sure that he fills the house even with his Holy Spirit, and it stops. It stops, and then it's kind of like in the Bible when it says, "And a season came, and a unclean spirit came before the Lord, and Satan was with him," kind of deal. So it's seasonal, kind of. When they come to God and try to get permission to do things. So it might be 6 months, and they'll try to go get permission, for some kind of reason to test your faith, or, like they did Job or something like that. And sometimes they get the permission, but with your faith, you can withstand it, you can defend yourself, and quench all the fiery darts of the enemy. So that's an incredible testimony, dude, and I'm glad that you figured out how to do it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, like I said, it's actually I mean, I guess as I got older, it stopped scaring me, and it got kind of the point where it just made me, it more made me mad, or aggravate me, that disturbing my sleep, or. But I guess I look at it as, if it stops completely, then that must mean I'm doing something wrong, because they're not trying to get me no more. So like I said, it doesn't really bother me like it did when I was a kid. And
yeah, because it's scary when you're a kid, because you don't know what to do, and I've had a few attacks in the last maybe 4 years. 5 years, something like that, and one of them was I just had laid down in my recliner to try to go to sleep, because it was when I was with Dana still, and 'cause I got kicked out of the bed for snoring, and so I went in the living room, and I was laying down in the recliner, and I shut my eyes, and I was trying to adjust to get comfortable, open my eyes, and there was a being standing over me, leaned over, looking at me. And it was like one of those shadow people, but it was completely physically there. And I could see its skin, and its skin was so black, man. It was blacker than black. But I could see wrinkles in the forehead and wrinkles in the face. And his eyeballs, I could see the whites of his eyes, and his pupils were like a dirty yellow. And it scared me so bad I jumped back in the recliner, and the recliner tipped over, and I rolled out into the floor. And when I popped up, he was gone. And instantly, I went to praying, and the next day I went and anointed, the house and stuff to make that stuff stop. And that was a couple years ago. And then one time since I moved to this apartment, I woke up one night, and I heard, it was like my bedroom door slammed, and I seen footsteps coming across the carpet, and it was coming rapidly. It was like bam, bam, bam. I could hear the footfalls, saying, it came rapidly across the room. And when it got to my bed, it was like a wind hit me, man. It blew my hair back and everything. It was like whoosh, and I instantly started praying, because although I couldn't see the being, I could see the footsteps on the carpet. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, when I talked to Dana, who I was separated from at the time, she had the same night something do the exact same thing to her. So, I mean, dang. What that's about, I don't know, man, but it was an attack, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, very scary. So, the moral of that story is you got to know the Lord, and because you if you don't know Him, you can't really call on His name, like you can when you know Him. But, exactly. I mean, if you don't know Him and you say, Jesus, help me, I think you still would. And to prove Himself to you, So if you ever have that happen out there in YouTube land, and you're iffy about it, all of it, just ask Him, Jesus, help me, please. And I think He will prove Himself to you. So, anyway, man, let's go into your dragon stories. Both of them, with one with you and your friend, and then the one with your mom or your dad or whatever it was.
Yes, it was my dad and all of his
Okay.
brothers and sisters and his mom. Yeah. My mom would watch my best friend and his little sister while their mom worked, and she wouldn't get off till later. So I think we were probably around between 8 and, no, I wouldn't say, it was probably around 10 years old, somewhere around there. But his mom came over, and they were inside and talking, and me and him were sitting on my porch. I grew up, like I said, out in the country. There's no other houses around us, and nobody else around or anything. So we were sitting on the porch, and we had some rocks we got earlier. I mean, he had a flashlight, and we were shooting some rocks with a slingshot at a stump that was sitting up on the hill that was maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 feet away from us. And just talking about whatever we was talking about. But I leaned over to pick up another rock, and he just, like, with a death grip, like, grabbed my shoulder and was like, what is that? And I asked me, what are you talking about? He's like, look on the hill, and where pretty much in the area where we were shooting at that stump, there was, I don't know no way to describe it, but it was this little dragon thing, maybe 2.5, 3 feet tall. I mean, look, I guess just like you would think of a little dragon would look, stand on its hind legs. And we just kind of stood there, dumbfounded for a minute, and then, we was both at the same time just kind of dropped everything and, ran inside to tell, our parents, and, by the time they came out and, looked, and it was gone. But, we sat there and stared at this thing for, a good 15, 20 seconds, before we turned around, and it was looking, trying to figure out what it was. And, both of us grew up out in the country and in the woods, and spent our days out in the woods. So it was, we knew what kind of animals are around there. So it definitely wasn't any kind of misidentification. It was this little green-looking, like I said, dragon thing on its hind legs. Like I said, nothing else happened after that. But
And what state?
my dad.
What state did you live in?
Upstate South Carolina. Been
Okay.
here my whole life.
Can you give us like a description of the creature, like what it looked like? Kind of give us good details.
I said it was. I was maybe around 2.5 or 3 feet tall. It was green looking. If I remember right, it had a lighter color, green on its stomach. It was standing up on its hind legs. You could there was a tail behind it. It had the elongated snout, like like I said, like it's whatever you think in your mind what a dragon looked like. That's it. It looked exactly like it.
Kind of like one of those Chinese dragons. Or
no, it wasn't like long and stretched out. It was just I don't know how to explain it.
So it was upright. It was walking on two legs. Did it have like arms and hands, or did it have?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it had, like I said, it had thicker, fatter legs, and it had skinnier arms that. It didn't look like disproportionate. Look, it was. I don't know. It was just like I said, what you think of a little dragon sitting there.
Yeah. What did his eyes look like?
I don't know, because we had like one of those big mag lights. I don't know if it was a reflection from the mag light, but they were a reddish in color.
Reddish, okay.
And looking up, I don't know if that was the reflection from the mag light or if that was the color of his eyes. But
okay, was it getting dark, or was it already dark?
It was. It was a little after dusk. It wasn't pitch black, but it was dark enough where we needed a flashlight to see if we was hitting the stump or not with the rocks.
Right. Because I was telling you about this one girl that emailed me one time, and I think it was in the UK, and she seen this. Her and her mom was like at some type of event. I can't remember what she said it was, but there was like a truck that had the big wooden slat railing around it that hauled sheep usually over there. It was like a sheep hauling truck. And she seen something moving in there, and she was trying to get her mom's attention, and her mom wouldn't pay attention to what she was saying, so she went up to the truck there, and she was looking through those slats, and said she saw two reptile-looking creatures that looked like lizards standing on 2 feet, and they had big old yellow eyes, and maybe if you're shining a flashlight in the dark, it might be red. Who knows? But and they might be even a little different from what you saw. But she said that they were. I can't remember how tall she said, but they seemed to be like they were kind of bigger. Like 4 or 5 feet tall or something like that, with yellow eyes, and they had the snout also like a lizard, standing up.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just, it blew her mind, and she couldn't get her mom to look, She wanted her mom to go over and check it out. It was like, Mom, check this out. And there was 2 of them in the back of this thing. And it made me wonder, it's like, did these people know that was in the back of their truck? Or did, I don't know. It's a mystery. I mean, that's just so bizarre. So when you told that in your email, I was like, man, I got to hear this. And so it was about 2.5 feet tall then, right?
Yeah, so about 2.5, 3 feet tall. Like I said, it was, I don't know if it was like sitting on its, I don't know if you could say like it was sitting on its, I don't know if it has a butt, but it was like I said, it was just sitting up where it's, it's I don't know, like its tail was, its tail was on the ground, I guess, kind of like you said, like a lizard was kind of, I guess it was almost kind of like if a dog would sit down and lift up. That's kind of what it looked like, but it definitely was not a dog.
Right. And did you ever see it walk?
No, it was just kind of like, I don't know if the light was bothering it, but it was just kind of just sitting there, turning its head, kind of back and forth, left and right. I don't know if it was, like I said, the light shining on it was, bothering it or what, but that's all it did. It was just sitting there and turning its head, left and right a little bit, and we just stared at it for a minute, and then I just kind of realized what we was looking at, and we just bolted inside to get our parents. But,
so it was scary to you then?
Oh yeah. We was both trying to fit through the door at the same time. It was kind of had like a three Stooges moment for a minute.
So was your take on it that it was an intelligent creature or just an animal?
I really, honestly, I couldn't say. I mean, I guess I would think it was some sort of, I don't know, maybe some sort of weird animal. I really, can't say.
Did it seem like something evil, like you needed to run from?
Yeah, it didn't give me warm and fuzzies looking at it. Definitely, that definitely scared us.
Right.
It definitely scared us.
In other words, I'm trying to say is did it seem intelligent?
Yeah. I would say so.
Right.
I think it was looking at us trying to figure out what we were. That's what it was doing, to kind of turn its head left or right. And I think maybe it couldn't see us because it was shining the flashlight in its face and trying to see what we were doing. But,
right. And then later on, you tell your dad about this. So tell us about that.
My dad worked second shift at the time, so he was at work when it happened, and he got home. I was still wound up and excited about it. So as soon as he came through the door, I was telling him what happened, and what me and my friend saw, and he kind of, I remember he kind of looked, I don't know, kind of shocked or kind of, I don't know, maybe disturbed a little bit, and he said, hang on a second, I'll be back. I had to see him go put his lunchbox and stuff up or whatever. But he sat down with me and he started telling me that when he was probably around my age, that they were outside playing, and he has three brothers, and he had like two stepbrothers. It's hard to remember because the step siblings, I don't think I've ever even met any of them. They never stayed in contact with the family, but he had like two sisters, I think two stepsisters, and his mom. They were there at the time. They were playing around, and I think my dad and one of his brothers went to the barn, and it was something about they found. It was something about a bag of dirt or something like that, and they brought it out and poured it out on the ground, or I guess just being curious, where seeing what it was, and they were saying like it was it smelled bad, it stunk, it was musty smelling dirt, something like that. So they didn't think nothing else about it. They went about playing, and they're out in the yard playing. One of the sisters started screaming and pointing. And they were, and everybody stopped to see what they were pointing at, and it was, he pretty much described the same thing I described, and this little green, like 2.5, 3 foot tall, little dragon thing sitting there, just looking at them. And he said, the mom came outside to see what the commotion was, and said she saw it, and said she just completely lost it, and said she was crying and screaming for them to get inside, and he said they had a box rip timed up, they wasn't scared nothing, real protective of the kids and everything. Said their box was, up under the house and wouldn't come out. I think they were trying to get it to come inside with them. And the dog wouldn't move. It was hiding up under the house. And they said my grandma called for my grandpa to come home, and he came home, and I guess it was gone by the end. But so he came home, and I'm trying to remember how it went. It's been a while. But he came home, and I asked what happened, what they saw, and went and looked at the bag, and apparently where they get the bag they got at a barn. He didn't recognize it, and it wasn't nothing he had sat in there, and he had thought it was somebody trying to, I guess, like somebody messing with like black magic or something, somebody trying to put something, against the family, something that would harm the family. And that was, he was definitely kind of shocked. I described the same thing that he saw when he was little, and he had never told me that story before.
So, okay, hold on. I'm trying to unmute the mic there. So he thought that bag was some type of witchcraft being used.
Yes, it was. I remember them saying something about it. It was like dirt from a graveyard, or dirt off a grave, or something like that. That's why it smelled the way it smelled, or something like that.
And you said something about that he had mentioned, like someone trying to put a root on you or something like that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think that's what you call it. Yeah, and somebody's trying to put like a curse type thing on you.
Yeah. The Bible does mention something about that on cutting roots. And at first I didn't really know what that meant, but I think that's what they're talking about, is people that mess with witchcraft. And it was really linking that to people like lived in these caves and stuff at the time, and they would cut roots. And so, yeah. Do you think that maybe that was kind of the cause of some of your issues you had until you got saved?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of, it was always kind of in the back of my, in the back of my mind that that may have had something to do with it, because apparently, couldn't find out there were some family members at the time that were into that stuff, and not saying that it was a family member trying to hurt another family member, but maybe like uh, another one of the people practicing that stuff that I don't know if they made mad or something like that would like they were doing it, but definitely it was a couple family members that was also into that stuff.
And it kind of opened the door, kind of thing. You kind of.
Yes, sir, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. But you can be free of that because the Bible
yes,
does talk about that no longer would God let children's teeth be set on edge because of sour grapes, and it's really talking about that curses, from the past won't be haunting the children in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So once you figured that out and you got saved, and you call on Jesus, and you can stop that for yourself. And it's kind of up to each individual to go to the Lord at that point, and but you can pray over your family because you and your household are protected when you're the head of the house and stuff. But wow, what an interesting story, man!
Yeah, it was definitely had a couple strange things happen to me in my life.
In the last what?
Oh, I definitely had a few strange things happen to me, in my life.
Yeah. Was there anything else you can remember?
Trying to think. I guess the only other thing I guess I got noticed as I was growing up. I kind of noticed that like I could kind of like, I don't know what, I guess almost like a, what do you call it? I'm trying to think of what it's called. It was one of those like discernment, I guess. I got noticed where I could, like just meet somebody, a person meets somebody, and I kind of, I can see past. It's hard to explain. I can see past their faith and who they are, and I kind of see like the real deal. I mean, whether they're I guess whether they're a good person or a bad person, and then I got to where I could, I guess, pick up on people's feelings, really good. And this started at a young age, and I guess it continues till today. But I could like go in a place and I could tell like something bad or something weird happened there, and I was looking at a house one time, and it wasn't like a realtor showing; it was just a house I saw for rent. And I was got out and was walking up the driveway to look at it, and as I was walking up the driveway, I mean, it had this big window in the front of the house, and it was like I hit a brick wall. It was like I just stopped, and I couldn't see nothing, but I knew there was something looking at me through that window. I could just feel there was something very, very bad and very negative there. And by that time I'd learned to listen to what I felt.
Right.
And so I turned around and went home, and I believe whatever it was in the house, followed me home, and I guess I had a pretty weird experience with that. That night, 'cause it was different than the shadow stuff I see, and this whenever I'd get this paralyzed in my sleep, it wasn't that, but it was that I guess it was that same feeling. I felt that same feeling I did at the house. Come in my room, and pretty much the same thing. I just told it's not welcome here, and in the name of Jesus, go. Don't come back, and it left. But that's about the only other weird thing I can think of that's happened.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard stories like that where someone went somewhere and then something followed them back and tried to harm them. I've got a few videos about those kind of deals, and it turned out bad. But like you said, you had your faith, and And God gave you discernment. It sounds like to me, the where
Yes,
you could, you knew something was up, and that's a good thing, man.
Yes, it is.
Faith is an awesome thing. I'm telling you, I don't know how one can live without it.
Yeah, I don't either.
you
I
know,
don't either.
and you ain't. None of us are perfect, man. But it's good to know that the Lord has your back, even if you mess up.
Oh yeah, as I say, I'm probably the worst example of a Christian out there. But I try to be a good one. Yeah, I try really hard to be a good one, but
Right.
I know I'm not a good one. But I believe in the Lord and believe He died for my sins, and that's what's important.
Yeah. I hear you on that, man. Because if you're a real Christian, the Lord shows you your shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
And He just tries to keep us on track, and to know that we aren't perfect. That's why it's not by works, lest anyone boast, kind of thing. So wow, interesting stuff. That's for sure. There's all kinds of strange stuff that happens in this world. You know it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is. That's a lot. A lot of people are, oblivious to it. They don't realize there's another. I guess another part of reality out there.
Yeah, in some ways, it's almost like the supernatural and the odd reality is more real to me than the before I knew anything like that. But I was knowing it from an early age though, because I had experiences when I was real young. But some people don't have any clue about that kind of thing, and maybe that's a good thing, especially if they are a Christian and they go to church and stuff, and they don't ever have any bad experience. That's great. If they make it to heaven, it's wonderful. But some of us experience these really crazy, odd, weird things that it's hard to talk about because the people who never experienced anything like that, they're real critical about it sometimes, and sometimes they aren't. I've told a few people that never had any kind of encounter, and they believe me because they know me. Like they know I wouldn't just make something up. But yeah, you know that there's a reality out there that crosses over into this realm sometimes, and it's just as real as this one.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, Jason, I appreciate you coming and sharing, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, and anytime, if you want to talk or something, just call me or shoot me an email, man. I'll be around for you.
Yes, sir. I'll definitely do it.
Sound cool? Just stay online then for a minute, and everybody out there in YouTube land, I hope you enjoyed that. That was, I thought it was just super interesting. Stories, man. Dragons and shadow people, and that's some amazing stuff, and it happens in this world. And people are, there's probably someone tonight that is going to go through some kind of encounter like that, and if they're listening, you know what to do now. Call on the Lord. Ask if you don't even know the Lord, just ask Him to help you. Just say, Jesus, help me, please. And I believe He would do that just to prove Himself, and then you might, decide to seek Him, and from there, that's up to Him because He's the one who saves anyway. So I'm just a messenger. So, like I said, if anyone out there has a story, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. You can contribute from PayPal Me link in the description. And until next time, God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video.